I've heard a lot of people about content creators falling off, or like your career's falling off, or this anime's falling off. Never once have I ever heard that Pride Month has fell off. But I will say it was refreshing to see so many companies no longer sport a gay flag or a trans flag. And you want to know why that is? It's because they never fucking cared. It was all performative. It was all to earn a couple extra bucks. And I'll be real when I say, I think the consumers that fell victim for companies being like, oh, they support us. It's like, brother, they don't give a shit about you unless you're buying. You think Starbucks give a fuck about gay people? Unless they buy another venti, brown sugar, oat milk shake, and espresso, they don't give a fuck about you. Corporations do not care. They are designed to take your money, and that is it. So I'm at least excited that corporations stopped with the fake ass bullshit, because I just got so tired of seeing people fall for that shit.
Month fell off. In June 2025, companies that once turned their logos into rainbows
Oh, great. We are talking about this. Great. Yep. I'm glad we're getting to this.
Now withdrawing their financial support from the upcoming Pride parades. Target no longer has their merch at the front of the store. Instead, they replace it with t-shirts for the 4th of July. It's hilarious.
I will also be real, and here's my hot take on this. Do you want to know why we never talked about Men's Mental Health Awareness Month? Or why we never talked about Men Appreciation Day, or why we don't have a White History Month? It's because the more you call something out, the more it deviates from the status quo. And what I mean by that is the more that you say, oh, women deserve respect too. Oh, the more black people deserve respect too. The more gay people deserve respect too. The more you're calling into reminder that they're not being respected, that they're not, like, it breaks. You know what? Here's a great clip to make it make sense. Enjoy.
It all comes down to this one penalty kick. Can the young woman break the glass ceiling and prove once and for all that a female can be just as good an athlete as a male?
You know, Amy, anytime someone calls attention to the breaking of gender rules, it ultimately undermines the concept of gender equality by implying that this is an exception and not the status quo.
You know what I mean? So when we constantly keep bringing it up and we constantly keep forcing it to be like, look at this flag, look at this flag, look at this flag, the longer it's going to take for it to mesh into society and become accepted. So I think the more we normalize it, we actually normalize it more by not shoving it down everybody's fucking throats, and we just normalize it by just merely existing.
Hilarious because it's both a symbolic and literal representation of putting America first. Where there was once rainbows and pride slogans, there's now American flags. This shift was pretty predictable. I've made several videos over the years about how identity politics and pride parades were damaging the public perception of the LGBT community. And with recent stats showing that people's support for gay marriage has dropped considerably, it's not hard to see why.
I think the biggest detractors from any movement are their activists. And I don't know who these pride parades were for, but all they did was just make people hate gay people, to be completely honest. Like, nobody is seeing all of these people on the streets naked with their dicks out, flopping their testicles around little children and saying, you know what? Now I like gay people. Nobody is thinking that at all. They're thinking, oh God, like, Jesus Christ, in front of the kids? What the fuck are we doing, right? Or like, the more people go, like these VTubers that go on Twitter and they're like, actually, kids can't consent to puberty, but they can consent to HRT. And that's why I think that you should inject your kids full of hormones in order to normalize the transgender. That is what I believe that we should do to the children. Maybe we just leave the kids alone. Because the more of an activist you are, the more of a detractor you are, because you have to say all this extreme ass shit, and rather leave it to the subtleties of normalizing it without extremes and just long-term light exposure. You're saying, you're gonna like this! Look at this gay dick! Look at this gay fucking dick! Well, maybe we start off a little bit slower, and, maybe we just see two gay dudes walking down the street holding hands. Maybe we don't gotta pull out the whole hog first. Maybe we just baby steps.
Culture is created around the idea that you shouldn't care what other people think of you. It sounds really good in theory. Just be yourself, live your life, don't worry about anyone else's opinions. But when you take this ideology to an extreme, you end up with people naked on the street. It's this exact disregard
Holy fucking same brain. I promise you this is not pre-watched.
for the public opinion that damaged our reputation. While many in this community hold the position that we shouldn't care whether or not our actions are deemed acceptable by the public, I hold the opposite position. I say we have a responsibility to show the public that we want to act equally, be treated equally, and don't expect any special treatment. The LGBT movement started out as simple as wanting everyone to mind their own business about what was happening in our bedrooms. And yet now everyone's yelling from rooftops, look at what I do in my bedroom.
Yep.
You lost the plot. And we lost the public when LGBT became more associated with degeneracy than it did with equality. Pride parades have unfortunately become a...
And that's the thing is that I think gay people are great, guys. I know, hot take in 2025. I think gay people are great. The problem is the people who make being gay, the people who make being trans, their entire personality. It's the same thing with people who are like, I'm from this country, so my entire personality is that I'm from this country. It's like, get the flags out of your fucking names on Twitter. Get the flags out of your fucking bio. Be more than your nationality, be more than your sexuality, right? Because the moment that consumes everything that you are, you lose all nuance and you just become retarded.
associated with hypersexualization and ideological agendas, even though this was not the original intention of these events. It was supposed to be a celebration of our freedoms, not a public display of fetish. But unfortunately, it got co-opted by a bunch of people who we can all agree were acting inappropriately. I understand that a majority of Pride attendees aren't partaking in this behavior, but the majority of media does not have this same understanding. Allowing this type of behavior at these events is damaging to the image of the entire community, even if it is only showing the extreme minority. Which is why I almost feel relieved to finally see Pride Month falling off. Most of us don't want to be the center of attention and have been anxiously waiting for the day when the alphabet soup discourse would become old news. An unnecessary amount of attention has been drawn to this community, making the problems within it that much worse. It should.
I also think the more letters the LGBTQ gets, the less people take it seriously. The fact that we're now at 2S LGBTQIA plus, it's like, what the fuck is this two souls bullshit? We're going from a movement to a router password. And that's where people are like, okay, what the fuck's going on here?
Should not be a controversial take to say that your gender identity and sexuality should not be the sole dictators of your belief system. You can be a gay conservative. You can be a straight tomboy. There's unlimited variation in the human condition, and anyone trying to convince you otherwise has an agenda. The constant pushing of people to adopt the stereotypical beliefs of what it means to be straight or gay is what's truly regressive. Don't let them gaslight you into thinking that their way is the only way. My comment section loves to call me a pick-me, but the truth is that this community needs people like me pushing back against the mainstream LGBT narrative, because people will respect us so much more when we're seen as singular individuals as opposed to a homogenous group. Not all gay people want queer ideology taught in elementary schools. Not all trans people believe that you should lose your job because you use the wrong pronouns. It's the
Absolutely. I remember I got in such shit for using the wrong pronouns before. You know what show is really good for getting you to like gay people? Bro, watch Queer Eye on Netflix. Holy fuck, I love that show. I will admit, the later seasons get like really gay, but the first like 3 seasons, oh my god, fantastic, absolutely wonderful, so good. It's ma'am.
The most extreme of us that get the majority of the publicity and attention, but it is absolutely
Or just watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
not representative of the majority. Many US corporations this year stopped supporting Pride events that celebrate LGBTQ plus culture and rights, raising questions about corporate America's commitment to the cause. The moves come as President Donald Trump has attempted to roll back some LGBTQ plus friendly federal policies. This article goes on to yap about how it's all Trump's fault, but it doesn't address the real culprit of the
Something bad happened in this world. Ah, damn it, Trump. Okay, come on, man. Come on.
declining support. It's important to decentralize Trump from the conversation because it's not Trump, it's the people that voted for him for reasons just like this. There's a cultural narrative around the extreme progression of the LGBT movement that drove a majority of American voters to choose Trump in the first place. You're not getting a pushback from the Trump administration, you're getting a pushback from the majority of the population.
Trump derangementism is real? Well, here's the thing, guys. You gotta understand. Before Trump, Obama was going through the exact same shit. Something bad happened. Thanks, Obama. It's like, all right. The problem is that people want to blame everything on the fucking president, who's more or less just a figurehead for the country. Trump can't really make any real change unless Congress and its people like promote it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can suggest things, but the real people making the change are the citizens of the country, as well as the Congress pushing it. So these people falling victim to, oh yeah, everything will change in 4 years when you get a new president. No, it just really won't.
Companies are resourceful. They are clever at identifying trends and studying their environment and their customers' needs. But those needs change and corporations adjust. Yeah, this is just a professional way of saying that companies will do whatever it takes to make more money in the moment. I made a whole video about this exact subject. When you try to force your beliefs onto someone and gaslight them that any other way of thinking is immoral and dangerous, you don't change their honest beliefs. You don't give them a cause to fight for. All you're giving them is an incentive to lie. You're giving
Yeah, I'll be real. You know what the quickest way to become atheist is? Have Christian parents. Oh my God, my mom was hyper Christian. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this church shit sucks. I remember they used to tell me that Tetris and Pokemon was the devil, right? I remember when my pastor told me as a first grader that I'm going to hell. And I'm like, okay, dude. Anyways, I'm never coming back here ever again. Yeah, no, it's bullshit. When 100% agree. When you force your beliefs on someone else and you just say that's just how it is, and you don't explain anything, you're not gonna make a believer. You're gonna make well the exact opposite.
Giving them a bandwagon to jump on, a trend to follow. So as soon as the mainstream narrative changes, as soon as the trend switches, all of it crumbles. You think you've made a change, but you've only proven how easy you are to fool. A growing slice of the public has grown tired of companies taking a stance on social and political issues. So-called brand activism reached its peak between 2016 and 2022, a period of social upheaval around the pandemic, police brutality, and transgender rights. But research has since found a growing number of American consumers don't want companies taking positions on such topics. Yeah, no shit. People want to be able to sip a beer without Dylan Mulvaney's goofy face on it. There have always been people who said, I don't want my toothpaste to have an opinion, I just want to use my toothpaste. But the tide has shifted and research shows there are more people that feel this way now. Did you really need research to figure that out? People are tired of everything being over-politicized. We want to sip on our favorite soda without it being a political statement. Rick Gomez, Target's chief commercial officer, told reporters that it's important to celebrate heritage months. They drive sales growth for us. Do you really think these companies ever gave a solitary fuck? Of course not. These corporations will go wherever the money is. They have no desire to be involved in controversy or get caught holding an unpopular opinion in fear of alienating their customers. There was a viral post made on X.
Like, the other thing that people don't get is all these people who are like, oh, we need Starbucks to rep Pride Month. Bro, these aren't even your consumers. Are you serious? This is such poor, unemployed behavior to be a gay activist saying, I'm not going to support this coffee company unless they scream from the rooftops that they love gay people. When you exhibit such unemployed, jobless, pathetic behavior, you probably don't have the financial status to afford an $8 cup of coffee regardless, right? And that's just how it is. It's the same thing for all these game devs that are like, bending a knee to the woke mob. It's like, bro, once you go woke, you go broke, because all these people who are going online bitching about this shit, they don't play video games regardless because they're terminally online and they're miserable and all they do is fight on Twitter. That's it.
Responding to the graph that shows acceptance of same-sex marriage has declined significantly. It took us 9 years to go from we just want to get married to we will steal your children from you and mutilate them if they claim to be transgender. No one can argue that gay marriage didn't pave the way for this. One of my greatest regrets in life is supporting this abomination when I was libertarian in my 20s. This entire thing should be outlawed everywhere. This post is both nonsensical and incredibly disappointing, but with almost 30,000 likes, it reveals the reality of how many people view LGBT issues. People do not appreciate how quickly and forcefully queer ideology has escalated. We went from gay marriage to threatening people's jobs that were being misgendered in the span of just a few years. People were fine with allowing others to do their thing as long as it didn't affect them, but now it does.
Bro, I remember that. I think it was 2014. And I don't know when the big trans movement just started, but it came out of fucking nowhere. It was like 11 years ago. I was in college in Canada. And all of a sudden, I had to accept the reality that men are now women and women are now men. And I was like, okay. And then I got told, by the way, if you use the wrong pronouns, you can be fined $500. And by the way, this was when I was living in Canada on a student visa. using the GI Bill. And if I were to be involved in a lawsuit, I would immediately be kicked out of the country. And so in my mind, I thought, if I accidentally misgendered someone, I would be kicked out of my college, lose $500, have to leave my wife. That already happened anyways. So I guess it wouldn't have been all that bad. And then leave the country that I enjoyed. Well, which is great because I prefer the United States of America anyways over Canada. It was just a lot of pressure for calling a he a she and a she a he. And I'm like, damn, bro, like how the fuck, like when did this happen? And then I just started seeing dudes walking to the women's restroom. This was back in 2014. And I was like, bro, my wife's in there. And I got told, you need to accept this right now. I don't think people understand how difficult of a concept that was to humor, especially 11 years ago, right? Because like if you're a man and you want to keep your wife safe, obviously that's a pretty scary concept to just be told, you need to accept this shit right now. It's kind of scary, right? Because obviously there's always bad eggs and people are going to take advantage of the new rules and laws. And it was just, it was a very confusing time to be alive. And I think a little bit of understanding for let's take this a little bit slower would have been better rather than succumb to what we're telling you or you're a transphobe and you're going to be fined $500.
I recognize that most straight people, most Republicans even, don't hold this position. Most people still support gay marriage. Most people don't have an issue with the LGBT, but...
And once again, I'm not saying that's everybody's experience. I'm just letting you know what my experience was back in 2014, 11 years ago. Obviously, that's not the status quo. I'm just saying, for me, it was like, where is all this shit coming from? And yeah.
With the continuous escalation of the rest of the alphabet, still several people responded to this post, reinforcing the idea that gay marriage opened the doors for more extreme ideologies. Someone sensible responded to this by saying, or you could ban kids' transgender surgeries and have gay marriage at the same time, to which the OP replied, nope, we tried that and I'm no longer interested in half measures. To the guy who said this, and for the other 14% of Republicans who no longer support gay marriage, I understand what's led you here. But just like you don't want to be categorized and stereotyped, neither do we. Not all gay people want to see kids at drag shows. Not all trans people believe that minors should be able to undergo surgical transition. These common stereotypes are often misrepresentations of the majority opinion. I'm sure you understand this concept as you had your own share of controversies that people continuously bring up as if it represents the majority of the group. Don't let the extremists ruin the freedom of everybody else in this community.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
We're at the restaurant. We're both.
No, I mean, obviously that goes with like everything. There are weirdos in every community, but the extremist behavior should never be used to label the entire basis of anything. I think that was a great video because like even with religion, like if we were, if we were to use the religious extremist behavior as what we thought everybody of that religion did on the norm, oh man, the world would be a miserable, miserable, miserable fucking place. Just advocating for people to calm the fuck down, be a bit more understanding, and be a little bit more subtle with their rationale rather than saying it's my way or the highway, and I'm going to send you to jail if you disagree. It's just a little cringe, guys. It really is a little cringe. But that's just me.